What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Prince. And we're going back to the compilation sent by a great friend of the channel, Stan. As soon as we get the Sleepy Luca transferred. There we go. And so the next tune in the playlist is Pop Life, and specifically it's the French dance mix of Pop Life. So I look forward to hearing people mention. People did comment, indeed, that the gold standard is from later in his career. It was the first tune that we had listened to from a later stage. So yeah, ultimately I do wonder about the chronology of the different tracks as we go through the playlist. But yeah, so let's hear it. This is Pop Life, the French dance mix by Prince. And once again, big shout out to Stan for sending this compilation, well, as well as much else. And indeed, I should mention, like, among the handful of things he sent, including a couple Thomas Dolby albums, is Cabaret Voltaire, who I've known about by name for a long time, and I do think it's a very clever artist name. And I do have some understanding that they're sort of a pioneering group, but I've never actually listened to their material. So at some point in the not too distant future, we will begin that journey courtesy of Stan. And I do believe there's been maybe one or two other people like Han Solo who may have shared their material. Nevertheless, let's get back to Prince. This is Prince. The tune is what is it? Pop Life. I was going to say Pop Love. Pop Life, and it's the French dance mix. Maybe? It's just quiet at the beginning. Yeah, really amazing. Again, another one where it's like I don't quite know where it's going, but it's compelling the whole time. Like in terms of its sonic chronology, again, like not cookie cutter tracks, but sort of um, independent, free flowing tunes that just kind of follow their own progression. And again, it's not like he's using a formula, and it's like every one of his tunes you can identify like those same traits. Even if there are characteristics that are clearly hallmarks of his tunes, including a funky sound and funky bass, and ultimately great vocals. Again, when he pushes it a bit with his, more like raspy, intense voice, I really love that. And it's funny, like right as I mentioned it, he seemed to hit it like the hardest of any of the vocals in this one. And yeah, it was funny, all the different articulations of people who like, they want curls but their hair's sort of straight, or they can't quite get this part of their life in order, can't quite like make this thing work. And it's, not everyone can be on top, but everyone has a space to fill. The idea that like, hey, as you go through life, you might not just dance from strength to strength and have like, good experience all the time. There may be times where you fall a bit short, or you're not quite on top of your game, or indeed you're not quite, best in whatever you're trying to do. But it sounds like it's a sort of reassuring or reaffirming, the idea that if you can find something to make your life pop, then perhaps there's a way through the sort of ups and downs that's a more reasonable approach. But again, not quite sure of everything. But again, there were like a number of articulations where whether it's someone's sex life isn't quite working, or whether, again, it's something as simple as like their physical appearance not quite doing what they want, or, they can't quite fit it or get it to work. It seems like that was part of it, which has like a very everyman thing. Now, there was one line, of course, that was like, when you forget to put your $1 million check in, what was it, in the bank account, or I forget exactly what it was, but it was like, yeah, I hate that. That happens all the time. Obviously, there were different iterations that perhaps are more specific, but it did feel on some level like a, hey, not everyone's going to get things right, and that pretty much applies across the board. So, cool tune lyrically from what I caught. I look forward to hearing what people have to say about it. Another longer one, I feel like that was at least like 5.5, maybe 6 minutes. Yeah, more than 6, about 6.5. So another one where, again, it doesn't seem very concerned to be like, oh, we got to get a 3.5 minute kind of single length. Now, fair to say, it's the French dance mix, meaning perhaps the original version is tidier, more concise. I mean, like shorter duration. But again, I like that a lot of his tunes go for longer, whereas some artists, and that's not really a criticism, but sometimes I go through pop tracks that are like 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes long, and I suppose I shouldn't like overgeneralize, because in a lot of cases a tune will say exactly what it wants to say sonically and lyrically, and it might be that short, and there's nothing wrong with that. Indeed, maybe that's more appropriate than let's just have another instrumental solo and flesh it out. But again, as someone who enjoys like trance and techno tunes that could be like 7, 8, 9, I mean, there's old school Goa tracks that are like 11, 12, 15 minutes long. I have like an acid trance tune by Solar Quest, who's like this really creative guy who was like really big in the 90s. It's 26 minutes long. So like taking the time to like fully express what you're trying to do, instead of like maybe this isn't going to hit on the radio if people see it as a bit too long and kind of drawn out and whatever. So I appreciate the artistic conviction of his work as I'm hearing it going through. Again, a couple albums, or like one proper album plus some assorted material. In any case, the next time we come back, A Sign of the Times, Explicit. I don't think I reacted to a tune by that name. In the moment, I shall check while I move the comatose Luca to the seat. Pretty sure I didn't react to that. I don't. It's the kind of, it's one of those phrases. Yeah, I haven't reacted to any tune by that name. It's one of those. It has like a cultural, like literary cachet to it. So I do wonder what the sign of the times will be. Explicit suggests that perhaps there is like a clean version, or like a radio, or maybe like a music video version for MTV or something. But this sounds like it's going to be full lyric version. In any case, once again, big shout out to Stan. You are massively appreciated, and I will see you next time. Peace.